fantastic meal and a show at Crooner's Supper Club. Crooner's is located in Fridley on Highway 65, just north of I-694. Check out their concert schedules and dinner menus at croonersmn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW, and on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday. Hey, what do you know? It is Friday. Michael Broadcorp will join us coming up here in the second hour. Our Republican expert, he is a Republican himself. We'll talk about some of his latest posts, as well as also he's our Vikings football expert, and we do have some quarterback issues we have to talk about there. Patrick is joining us here in the studio. Patrick, did you see this beautiful baby boy I brought you here?
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That is beautiful.
All right. Because we are celebrating here because the Gopher women's basketball team hosts Green Bay, right? University of Wisconsin, Green Bay?
Yes, that's correct.
That's a 5 o'clock start time in the NCAA women's tournament here. We are supporting the squad here. I got my Minnesota jersey on. I got my Gopher tin. You know what this is from, right?
I do know what that is from.
It's from Popped Corn, who sponsors the show here with the NCAA going on here. And yes, they have the Golden Gopher one, but they also have a lot of the teams, not all the teams, but a lot of the teams. You can go find out if you go to their website, Popped Corn, POPPED corn.com. Look at this. There you go. Will this last the show? I'm going to look like I have jaundice because I'm going to have orange all over my hands and face by the end of this show.
You gonna start talking like this too?
Oh God, no! I don't. No, let's not go down that path with their delicious popping corn. This is the cheddar made with real cheddar, and yeah, most of this is gonna be gone. Sorry, Brett. Brett's here too, and he's gonna get some of this, but he might not get a lot of this. But there you go. Go to Popped Corn, POPPED corn.com. If you type in my name, Matt, on checkout, MATT, you'll get yourself 10% off your order. But if you go there, and I want everyone who does go there, I want you to say, I'm here because of AM 950. Just say it. I'm here because of AM 950. Get yourself delicious popcorn, and there you go. And look at that, like I said, this sharp looking tin. And by the way, there's a discount on refills on this bad boy. So we probably have to head over there before the evening is out, because I am dead serious. I am dead serious. If you've ever followed me on any of my social media pages, you know how much I like good food. This ain't going to last. Will it be gone before Broadcorp's here? No. Delicious. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. I'm happy. I mean, it's I can at least root for the Gophers. My daughters are all upset because Wisconsin got beat in the first round by something called High Point. I don't know what High Point is. Is it a college or is it like a nun school? What is that? Is it?
I had to look it up. It's in North Carolina.
Okay. Well, there you go. Wisconsin is gone and they're all bothered, but hey, there you go. If you're listening on the Substack network and all this stuff, you are going to get an obscene amount of Matt doing, Gopher Wisconsin stuff. It's just, that's just the way it's going to be. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. We'll start off with let me start off with one thing. Sean Duffy, yesterday in the second hour, I talked about Sean Duffy, who's the transportation secretary, who was just a crap representative over in the Wisconsin 7th seat, which is just across the Minnesota border into Wisconsin up in the northern part of the state. And if you didn't catch the story, it's pretty hilarious. So his son-in-law, who's 26 years old, and hey, Dad, thanks, is basically Duffy is trying to anoint him as the next representative for that seat. And funny, all these businesses that have dealings with the Department of Transportation, funny story. They seem to be giving massive campaign donations to his son-in-law in his race in Wisconsin. 26-year-old construction worker I wouldn't put in charge of a spoon, but that's just me. But he is, they're getting this. And the point I want to make is Sean Duffy, who I don't think is fooling anybody, is like, how dare you suggest I'm watching whoever gives donations to my son-in-law's campaign? How dare you say I'm paying attention to that? How dare you saying it would have sway with me if I see somebody who's got business in front of the Department of Transportation aiding my son-in-law, my 26-year-old. You're really going to make him a House Rep son-in-law? How dare you suggest that I'm asking for donations to help him? Exactly. And see. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Chuck Norris has died. Now, I'm going to repeat what I always say when I have something like this happen. I don't celebrate people's death. I don't. I know a lot of people out there that generally do, and all right. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'll go with the full bladder to Strom Thurmond's grave any day. But as far as celebrating when someone passes away, no, and for this reason, although I highly doubt, and I do mean highly doubt, anybody who is a family member of his is listening. The guy was someone's husband, father, grandfather. There are people out there, as much as I disagree with them, who do like the guy and do look up to him. And it's not my job to basically, as they're grieving, because my shot is not about them. It's about him. And so me sitting here and laughing about that, that's just me being cruel for cruelty's sake. And I'm just not, that's just not the vibe I am. That's not the cat I am. I will say this, I am not going to celebrate his life per se. I mean, I grew up with the guy in the 80s. He did a lot of these ready for TBS movies and WGN movies, which were, Invasion USA, stuff like that. He was martial arts champion, started with Walker, Texas Ranger, in a string of action films, died at 86. He apparently fell sick out in Hawaii. He has a place out in Hawaii, and he fell sick, and I'm not sure if he fell or if he just got contracted something, but 86, you don't have a lot of leeway room there. I mean, it's a good run. 86 is a good run. It's a good run. And the fact that he was still working out and being healthy, I think, is a sign of how you make it to 86. The Post, it was with heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep his circumstances private, please know we're surrounded by his family and was at peace to the world. He was a martial artist, actor, symbol of strength to us. He was a devoted husband, loving father and grandfather, incredible brother, and the heart of the family. Norris was an outspoken supporter of Republican political causes, endorsed various candidates over the years. In the 2008 Republican primaries, he was a prominent supporter of Mike Huckabee. Wow. Which doesn't, I'll come back to that here in a second. In the 2012 presidential election, Norris initially backed Ron Paul, later endorsed Newt Gingrich as the Republican presidential candidate. He was also visited Israel many times on different occasions and publicly voiced his support for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the 2013 and 2015 elections over there. So yeah, he's got a bit of a, I guess you could say, he became a bit of a far-right MAGA loon. And as a matter of fact, I can say this. If you've ever seen the video that he did with his second wife, where, I'll give you as much out as I can, but it's kind of clear that when it's basically talking about the outcome of the 2008 election and how angry they were that evangelicals stayed home. They said 30 million evangelicals stayed home in 2008, and Barack Obama won by 10 million votes. And it gets worse from there. I mean, it really is a black man is a president. And before anyone comes at me, yeah, it was. Go watch that. I mean, it was embracing Christian nationalism. It was embracing anti-Obama hysteria. It was embracing racist tropes. It was an ugly video. And as a matter of fact, I mean, you can find it because a lot of people have posted this video today with his passing. And once again, I don't celebrate anyone's death. I just will not. As much as I can look at the consequences of what they have done in their life and be like, okay, yeah, that's not good. But at the same time, I'm not going to give you a pass for who you were. I mean, I said the same thing when Charlie Kirk passed away. Yeah. I mean, no one deserves to go out like that guy did. No one does. Gun violence is horrible. And the psychopath that did that to him should be held accountable. And I feel sorry for his family, because obviously to watch someone in real time get taken away from you is god awful. But it doesn't mean that he didn't say a lot of horrible things over his career. He said a lot of them. And I'm not just going to whitewash your career for you because you don't want me to focus on that. In my mind, considering the importance he became as a symbol within the Republican and the MAGA and the Christian evangelical movement, he wasn't, that was a lot of bad there. So I'm not celebrating his death, but I'm not, as far as how much empathy we have for him. Well, let me move on to the next story here. So let me go through. I'll start in on some of the Iran stuff here, because I want to keep people up to date, because this is just a mess. It is just a mess. Emergency services are responding to reports of an impact in Jerusalem's Old City following Iran's latest ballistic missile strike. The Trump administration reportedly considering occupying or blockading Iran's Karg Island to pressure Iran into reopening the Strait of Hormuz. That's not going to do it. As a matter of fact, all you're going to do is make a lot of our soldiers target practice. Trump lashed out at NATO again, condemning alliance members for not wanting to help to open the Strait of Hormuz. Germany, Britain, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Japan, and Canada pledged on Thursday to join appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, but the joint statement did not provide details how they would do that. Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, on Friday said the enemies of the Islamic Republic were being defeated in the war against the U.S. and Israel in a written message for the Persian New Year. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced a decree including introducing a temporary freeze on rents nationwide in response to this, because the prices are skyrocketing there. Kuwait said its oil refinery came under attack by Iranian drones, which sparked fire on several of its units. Gulf counties have continued reporting incoming missiles or drone strikes. NATO's mission in Iraq has been fully relocated to Europe, the alliance said, with the last personnel from the non-combat forces of several hundred departing the country on Friday. The International Energy Agency chief warned in an interview with the Financial Times it could take up to 6 months to restore oil and gas flows from the Gulf, saying the world is facing what could be the most severe energy crisis in history. And it should be noted, that's if everything opens up immediately. It still is going to be 6 months if tomorrow everyone says, okay, mulligan, and walks away, which is just not going to happen. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Get ready for Easter fun with the annual Easter brunch at the Park Tavern. Enjoy Easter ham, all your Easter breakfast and brunch favorites, and all the sides and desserts. Seatings are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th, and you need reservations. $29.95 for adults, $19.95 for those over 65 and under 12 years old, and 5 and under are free. And don't forget the hour of free bowling with every reservation. Call 952-929-6810 on Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park. Enjoy a delicious, stress-free Easter with the Park Tavern.
Make Libby part of your spring break plans and bring your library wherever you go. With the Libby app from MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, you can borrow ebooks, audiobooks, graphic novels, comics, and digital magazines right on your phone, tablet, or Kindle. Just download the Libby app at libbyapp.com. Enter your library card and start reading or listening. Best of all, the app is free, and so are the books, thanks to your public library.
Prime Productions is thrilled to bring the world premiere of Abuelita by Nathan Youngerberg to the Capri Theater March 14th through the 29th. A grandmother from Iowa brings her grandson to meet his Puerto Rican relatives in sweltering New York, 1993. Tabby's world is transformed with music, dancing, and community. Directed by Shay Cage. Pay-as-you-are tickets can be purchased at primeprods.org. That's spelled prime, P-R-O-D-S.org.
Your time is precious. Why are you still mowing your own lawn? I'm Alex Noor, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. At Buzzcut Mowing, I offer weekly mowing, leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I work hard so you can relax and enjoy time with family and friends. Call today and I'll handle the rest. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
Hi, I'm Mary T. I'm a proud supporter of AM 950 because this station shares the values that I care about most: community, connection, and making a difference. Just like AM 950, I believe in using our energies, our resources, and our voices to lift up others. That's why I started the Mary T. Scholar Program at the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development, providing graduate students with internships internationally. For over the past 10 years, our students have served communities in Laos, Cambodia, Nepal, India, Cameroon, and Thailand, gaining experience and helping people in ways that really make a difference. Supporting AM 950 fosters conversation, awareness, and action in our communities. It's about shared values and believing that together we can make a difference. Visit marytinc.com to learn more about the work that we do.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. And by the way, sorry to everyone on the Blue Ant Media Network that just watched me eat a whole bunch of cheesy popcorn. It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. Popped corn. That's popcorn. There you go. You can find it there. Popped corn, Popped corn.com. Back to, that's right, chaos in the Middle East. Now, there is a special level of stupidity in Donald Trump. I mean, there just is. I mean, I want to remind people that just a few weeks ago, Trump was all, talking about how we have to rein in our allies. They've gotten it too good for too long. Tariff. We need to get tougher on you. You guys suck. We don't like you. Then, as we explained in depth yesterday, it's pretty clear the Israelis tricked Trump, or I don't want to say tricked, I shouldn't say the Israelis, Netanyahu tricked Trump, lobbied Trump hard to basically go in there and attack Iran, even though Iran, by all accounts, had agreed to give up everything and Trump would have won. And if there was anything that Trump would have done that would have potentially given him a Nobel Peace Prize, it was the fact that he had Iran ready to completely give up every piece of nuclear material they had. Completely. It was all gone. It would be leaving the country of Iran. They would have won. And instead, he got bullied into attacking them. Didn't know what he was doing. Didn't understand what he was doing. I mean, there have been people who I did hear from, two people who said, Netanyahu, the rumor has always been that Netanyahu and the Israeli government has copies of all the Epstein files, and they know exactly what Trump has done in there. So maybe there was a blackmail that way to say, hey, we'll release them ourselves unless you help us. I don't know. But reminder that Marco Rubio was out there the next day saying Israel was going to attack. So we basically got forced into helping him. And then he tried to recant that. Anyway, here he is now realizing he's way over his head. He doesn't understand how any of this is going to work. He doesn't understand that he doesn't have the current manpower or military might in the region to basically do what he needs to do. And that even if he did, it would take years to accomplish that, at a cost of a lot of American bodies and a lot there. One thing that people are saying, oh, well, the Iranian military doesn't have a lot of great equipment. No, the Iranian military right now is burning off all their old stuff, and they're holding back the good stuff that they still do have, by all accounts, waiting for us to basically lower our guard, thinking all they've got is kind of glorified drones, and then they're going to start unloading their real weaponry on us. And yeah. So, yeah, it's a mess. So now he needs NATO's help. Well, NATO didn't start this. He did. He never consulted them. As a matter of fact, he basically, that whole disastrous moment with the Japanese prime minister yesterday, talked about, I made the command, got to make a command decision. And now he seems to be stunned. Stunned, I say, stunned that the people that he's been insulting, the people that he didn't consult, the people that weren't part of his plan are all of a sudden like, wait a second here, we don't want to get involved in the Iranian war. And make a note of this. This is about him realizing he has jumped into the deep end of the pool, like that man probably ever exercises, but he has jumped into the deep end of the pool. He can't touch the bottom, and he's realizing he's not the best swimmer. And so now he's expecting everybody else to come bail him out. He's called NATO allies cowards for not wanting to help open the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. reportedly preparing to send 3 more warships and 1,000 more troops to the Middle East amid fears about the economic damage being caused by the war in Iran. The U.S. is reportedly considering plans to occupy or blockade Iran's strategically crucial Karg Island to pressure Tehran into opening the strait. Now, do you know how we were talking earlier about gas prices? Yeah, and how they're not low. They're pretty high. If he does this, he stops one of the largest producing areas of oil in the planet. Then the cost of oil is going to skyrocket because the people that usually get that oil are going to go out in the rest of the market. And all of a sudden there's demand. And all of a sudden the rest of the oil becomes much more expensive because there's far less of it. And they're not going to be able to bring in tankers and fill them up with Iranian oil and ship them out. They're sitting ducks there. If you haven't paid attention, they're sitting on the other side of a mountain range. There's one little town there, but that's like 60 miles away. They can just launch field artillery at these guys. And it's an 8-mile island. There's not a lot of places to hide. What are you going to do? The reports from the U.S. media organizations emerged as Iran's military threatened that it would hunt down officials and military commanders in the U.S. states, in Israel, wherever it could find them in the world, including the world tourist destinations. We are watching your cowardly officials and commanders, pilots and wicked soldiers, the Iranian Armed Forces spokesperson said, quoted by state TV. From now on, based on the information we have for you, the promenades, resorts, and tourist and entertainment centers of the world will not be safe. The reports that Washington is considering plans to occupy or blockade Karg Island come despite earlier suggestions by Trump that he was not leaning towards putting boots on the ground. Any attempt physically to occupy Karg Island would probably entail high risks exposing American forces there to Iranian drones and rocket fire in a geographically confined space. 8 miles square, situated 16 miles from the Iranian city of Bushehr on the northern end of the Gulf. The Karg Island terminator reports about 90% of Iranian oil is supplied by pipes from nearby offshore fields. Iran is heavily dependent on revenue from fossil fuels, and any attempt to seize such a key asset would almost certainly be resisted. And let it be known that any other oil fields would be open game because they know this. They would know that if they all of a sudden start taking out the Saudis' oil fields and the other Arab oil fields, well, then all of a sudden there's more pressure on them to reopen their fields. Trump said this: without the USA, NATO is a paper tiger. They didn't want to join the fight to stop nuclear power in Iran. And now the fight is militarily won. It is. So why are we sending all the extra troops there? Why do you need $200 billion? If this is over, why are we there then? I'm not going to go into the rest of his statement because it's just gibberish. It's just gibberish. He's an absolute disgrace of a human being. The Pentagon's already deployed the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, a rapid response force of about 2,200 Marines to the Middle East. Military officials have not said what mission the Marines being sent to the Middle East would be assigned to carry out. Well, but if they're Marines, they're going to go on land. So this is the beginning of a force. Now, once again, this is not going to be Venezuela. You're not just going to be able to drop these guys in Tehran and be able to take care of it. The way the Iranians run their military, if you do capture Tehran, the rest of the individual military corps across the state, the country, have basically been given the orders and commands to basically carry out operations without them. They have planned for this. Now, the UK did approve the use of some of its bases of collective self-defense of the region. So basically, you can use it to try to keep the resources in the Middle East going there. They agreed that Iran's reckless strikes, including against the Red Ensign vessels and those of our close allies of the Gulf partners, risk pushing the region further into crisis. One of the officials that said the USS Boxer, along with the Marie Expedition Unit abroad, they're leaving the U.S. about 3 weeks ahead of schedule. It's not clear what their mission is. They're going to try to take this island. They're going to try to take this island, or they're going to try to, as well, maybe ride with some boats there in the Strait of Hormuz. And once again, just target practice for these guys. They're holding their heavy-duty artillery for that moment. Ugh, I think I've had enough of this. We'll come back, something new. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Join me, Tom Hartman, where smart people get their news. The Tom Hartman Program on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Hey, it's Tom Hartman for my friends at All Energy Solar, and I want to talk about something most people don't consider until it's too late. Energy independence isn't just about saving money. It's also about what happens when the grid goes down. Severe weather, aging infrastructure, unexpected outages, they happen, and when they do, most homes go dark. But not homes with solar and battery backup from All Energy Solar. Here's what makes it work. Solar panels charge the battery during the day, so when a storm hits or the grid fails, your home stays powered. Lights, refrigerator, medical equipment, whatever matters most keeps running. All Energy Solar is certified by both Tesla and Enphase for battery storage and has been installing complete solar plus battery systems since 2009. Minnesota battery rebates are also available. Don't wait for the next outage to wish you had acted. Visit allenergysolar.com or call 800-620-3370 for your free evaluation today.
Hi, this is Frank Brown with Minuteman Press Uptown. It's election season. If you're campaigning for a candidate, your outreach needs top quality union printed materials, from direct mail and yard signs to door hangers, buttons, t-shirts, and flyers. Minuteman Uptown is your union shop to get people to the polls. We print everything. We'll keep your candidate top of mind, target your message with a laser focus, and maximize your voter turnout efforts. Get started today at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only two seasons in Minnesota: road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are two seasons in Minnesota: summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 62, then tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 42. Dinosaur World is taking over Children's Theater Company for an immersive tour where you can feel the roar and even smell their stinky breath. Get ready to face a T-Rex and be sneezed on by a Triceratops. Dinosaur World runs now through April 5th. Get your tickets at childrenstheater.org.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In Seattle, the late night hours, 11:50 a.m. KKNW on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And, of course, in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday. Okay, so one last thing I got to say about Iran, and because it's Pete Hegseth, who once again put forward the whole notion that we're only doing this because Christian values. Yeah, that's what he says. He thinks Jesus is loving what he's doing, and that just tells you how broken these people are. Pete Hegseth is a horrible person, and when you just don't think he could get worse, well, here you go. The father of a U.S. military member killed in the Iran war has contradicted Pete Hegseth's claim that bereaved families urged him to finish the job in the Middle East. Now, first of all, how stupid do you think we are? You guys can't even vocalize what the job is in the Middle East. You can't. You have no idea what the job is in the Middle East, you morons. You don't know what you do because, yeah, you're idiots. Hegseth, Defense Secretary, former weekend Fox News host, told reporters at the Pentagon briefing on Thursday that he'd spoken with relatives of all 6 service members killed in last week's refueling tanker crash during a dignified transfer of the remains at Delaware Dover Air Force Station the night before. What I heard was through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this, honor their sacrifice, do not waver, do not stop until the job is done, Hegseth said. That's what they're saying. Even though they can't even explain what their job was, what we're trying to do in Iran. However, on Thursday night, Charles Simmons, the father of Tech Sergeant Tyler Simmons, 28 from Ohio, salute your service, sir. Thank you very much for your sacrifice. It will not be forgotten. He said he had no such conversations, the father did. This is a Gold Star family here, basically saying, the defense secretary is lying. I can't speak for the other families. When he spoke to me, that was not something we talked about. Simmons said he'd spoken separately with Hegseth and Trump at a military base, was grateful to the warmth he said both men had showed him, but he recounted his meeting with the defense secretary differently from Hegseth's own assertion. I understand there's a lot of peril that goes into making decisions like this. I'm just certainly hope the decisions being made are necessary, Simmons said he told him. Asked by NBC News if he had said anything to the president or Hegseth about continuing the Iran war, which has so far seen the deaths of at least 13 service members, 14, including the one that had the medical emergency. Simmons was adamant that nothing like that had ever taken place. No, I didn't say anything along those lines. He's making up fake quotes from Gold Star families grieving at the transfer ceremonies of the remains of their loved ones to try to justify what he's doing. Just when you didn't think that these people could sink any lower. Just when you didn't think they could sink any lower. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I want to bring up, if I can, a story which is I kind of think is funny. And it's going to be an entryway into me talking about MAGA. Because I need to make sure we have this discussion, because as crazy as this world is, Donald Trump likely raped children and beat them and trafficked them. Donald Trump is using his White House to basically steal money from anywhere he can. Donald Trump has started a war with Iran and will cost thousands of American lives when this is all done, and a lot of your own money. Donald Trump is trying to purge the voter rolls to prevent at least 50% of the country from voting in the upcoming election. Donald Trump ordered a militarized police force to attack the city of Minneapolis and St. Paul and the state of Minnesota, killing 2, violating civil rights left and right. They did all this stuff. And there's a lot of people on the left who are like, well, clearly they're seeing what's really going on. Come on. No, they're not. They don't even know what they're looking at sometimes. MAGA currently is swooning over photos of a blonde, hot U.S. Army soldier walking defiantly along Trump to carry out America First agenda. There's one problem. She's just an AI-generated thing. Images most likely generated by artificial intelligence depicted Jessica Foster wearing heels on the U.S. warship in the Strait of Hormuz, posing for selfies with Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, and giving a speech at the president's Board of Peace, B-O-R-E-D, earlier this year. The account, which has since been taken down, gained more than 1 million followers since its mysterious creator started posting it on 4 months ago, said the Washington Post. Apparently, there was GoFundMe or something like this, and a lot of MAGA was sending this woman this AI-generated cartoon character a lot of money. And that's what I think really caused it to break down. Was they basically we don't mind you doing the propaganda stuff with this AI generated cartoon. It's just we don't like the fact that you're making the money on it. Of course they did. I guarantee you a lot of MAGAs like, hey, bitch, she thinks I'm hot. I'm going to give her another $1,000. And then I did look at some of the pictures. They're better AI than some, but you can clearly tell it's AI. You can clearly tell it's AI. never stop these guys because she's a military MAGA person. She's pretty. I love her. She's already said that she's going to come out my farm and live with me out here. Let's have a little come to Jesus moment about MAGA, shall we? Let's just make sure we talk about this. Democrats, you keep thinking they're going to wake up. They will never wake up. They will never wake up. And for you to misunderstand that means you just don't understand who these people are. There was a recent CNN study that came out. I think they were quoting an NBC poll, which said 100% of people who clarify themselves as MAGA, not necessarily Republican, but MAGA, 100% of them still support Donald Trump. 100%. With all the stuff I'd mentioned. 100%. 100%. No deviation. Why? Not because he's successful and good. No. But because of what he represents. I have always said, and I've said this a few times this week even, because I referenced this poll earlier. I always said originally that a Trump supporter could walk in on Donald Trump having sex with their spouse, and the first words out of their mouth would be, damn Democrat. I've changed that to a MAGA Trumper could walk in on Trump raping their child, and they would say, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me close the door and let you finish up. That is who they are. Why? To understand that, I want to go back to, and I'm not necessarily, I've definitely, although I could compare Trump to Hitler. There's, like I said, if Trump's only cosplaying Hitler, don't you occasionally go home from the convention and take the outfit off? I'm just saying you should do that occasionally, Mr. Spock. He's not. When Hitler rose to power, he did something which it was Trump before Trump. He went to the Munich beer halls, and these were a lot of World War I vets, people that were angry about how things were going in Germany, and they were drunks. These were people who were set aside by society because they just basically were consumed by alcoholism. And Hitler went in there and did something no one thought was possible. He started cobbling together a viable political party of these drunks in Munich, in Bavaria. And it worked. And by the time people started realizing how bad it was too late. That he'd basically, because no one ever expected that. Well, let's break down who exactly votes for Trump. I've always said there are three different groups of people. They're the billionaires. And to a point, I understand why the billionaires do support him, because basically he's borrowing money from China, driving up to the billionaires' homes, dumping a bunch of the cash on their front doorstep, saying, we'll see you in a week, and then heading back and saying, oh, and by the way, I'll have the middle and lower class pay this back to for you, okay? Enjoy the money. They're just getting thrown cash, and these people are thinking generationally that their great grandkids will never have to work a day in their lives. So that's kind of why they love him. The racists, come on. Everyone knows why the racists like him. The racists love him because he's a racist and he placates their racist goals. But, and by the way, if I can say this, and I'll say that those are the frothing racists. Those are the ones who are undeniably racist, that have the racist tattoos. Heck, stuff. They got the racist tattoos and stuff like that. But pretty much most of MAGA has to be somewhat racist, have to have some level of racism in them, because you can't be around such racist piles of crap all the time and not walk away unless you are at least comfortable with the racism. So even though they might not be super racist, they're racist interested. They're racist adjacent. And so there's a lot of racism that runs through MAGA, even if they aren't the traditional racists. But let me explain who Trump wooed. Because what Trump did is he gave people the feeling that people used to know when they were a loser. They did. And Trump basically absolved them of their self-owning sins. The suburban dad, who is the second kid, has a chip on his shoulder because he felt dad liked his older sibling better. Furious that they're not keeping up with the Joneses and the rest of the suburbs. They're deep in debt. They're unhappy, not happy in his marriage, not happy with his life, doesn't like their job. Coasting through life on delusion in suburbia. Donald Trump came through. It's like, you're not a loser. You're the winner. And dad should have liked you better. Guy was right on board. The middle-aged woman who makes herself feel better by tearing other people down. God, I know men and women like that. People full of anger and hate, doom scrolling social media, despising the happiness she sees her friends having, maybe even having a secret account on social media so she can insult and derange, comment on people's, posts and stuff like that. She can yell at other people because she's hoping, desperately hoping, that this villainy that she throws out there fills the voids in her life. Trump looks at her and says, you're not the loser. They're the loser. Gone. The 20-time loser who's been fired for being drunk at the job 6 times, who keeps seeing his life stumble and falter because of their own actions, desperately wants to blame everyone else but not himself. Trump comes on in. It's not you, it's all them. Done. The older white person who, probably is a little racist, thought that they were some sort of enlightened 60s, 70s generation person, but all of a sudden they saw Barack Obama and it blew their freaking minds. Oh my God, that's an actual black person. And they quickly dive into that. But it's even that, they have to be a little bit of a coward. These elderly cowards who are afraid to contradict others in their groups, who basically say and promote the horrible things about other people. So they embrace the negativity, hoping it gives them validation within their elderly senior circles, hoping it takes away by being more and more villainous, that they basically takes away the guilt they have to see the hollow shell of themselves in the mirror when they come into the sunset of their lives. It's not you, it's them. These people will never give up Trump because Trump is crack for them. Trump is the validation they have dreamed of, they've fantasized about, they desperately need. And they are willing to endorse a pedophile, a dictator, a moron, a thief, a con man. They will do it because the reality is, without Trump, then all they have when they look in the mirror is themselves. And they could fix their own lives, but it's a lot easier for them to basically start pointing the finger and blaming everybody else. And Trump allows that. They will never quit that. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Get ready for Easter fun with the annual Easter brunch at the Park Tavern. Enjoy Easter ham, all your Easter breakfast and brunch favorites, and all the sides and desserts. Seatings are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th, and you need reservations. $29.95 for adults, $19.95 for those over 65 and under 12 years old, and 5 and under are free. And don't forget the hour of free bowling with every reservation. Call 952-929-6810 on Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park. Enjoy a delicious, stress-free Easter with the Park Tavern.
In today's uncertain times, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat, is a joy we experience every day. And knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity in styles, at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
March Madness is here, and Popcorn, that's Popped corn.com, is a game time decision for you. Enjoy your favorite flavor of popped corn gourmet popcorn, like cheese made with real cheese, the classic mix, or the featured flavor of Shamrock Caramel. And many college teams are featured on Popped Corn's tins. You can ship your favorite team tin across the USA. Find your team at poppedcorn.com and enter the discount code of Matt to get 10% off your order. That's discount code of MATT at popcorn, Popped corn.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The end of winter is finally on the horizon, and you're going to start thinking about all that nasty crud that's built up in your home over these last few months. Call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to help get you an early start on the spring cleanup. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel. This month, get Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner. Buy one room, get another free. Buy another room of carpet cleaning, get another room of carpet done for free. Get the picture? Also this month, get a free size upgrade on every whole home air duct cleaning package. Don't you love when you buy your favorite beverage and get a free size upgrade? That's what Zero Res is doing this month with their whole home air duct cleaning package. Start spring cleaning with a free upgrade and pay less for more fresh. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Waiting at the airport, lost and found.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205 is the phone number. So, off of that cheery subject, let's go take a look at the world of finance. Oh, that's like taking a bowling ball to your crotch. Oh, my God. I said this earlier this week, and this seems to have resonated. There are no good markets right now. Everything economically, which is crazy because when you go watch, whether it's Fox Business or CNBC or, any of the financial reporters, the Financial Times, they all keep trying to say, hey, it might get better. I mean, there really is this delusion of trying not to expose this. And by the way, can I say that? And that's part of the problem, because by making people not realize how dangerous things are when this collapse does happen, and we're just at the beginning of this, it's going to be horrific. The Russell 2000 is falling more than 10% in the recent high, becoming the first major U.S. benchmark market to fall into correction territory in 2026. Yeah. If it declines more than 10%, and less than 20%, that's in the correction zone. I should give you this update. So as of today, the Dow, remember when Pam Bondi was saying, you victims of Epstein and Trump, you suck because the Dow is at 50K. The Dow is on the verge of getting into correction territory. It's at 45,577. It's been absolutely getting throttled lately. The S&P and the NASDAQ also are on the verge of this too. Should mention oil today. Hey, look, it's high again. And these oil prices are undoubtedly being manipulated lower. And I think it's because the oil companies themselves realize that there'll be time for them to get money in the long run. They're just trying to keep this from going out of control. But now we have, once again, the Russell, Russell 2000 is basically, it's basically gone into correction territory. The rest of them are going to be there probably by the end of next week. Small caps actually outperformed to start the year, with Russell just 1% off in 2026 as the hope of easier monetary policy and pivoted away from large caps boosted their asset class. But the benchmark has tumbled this month, and blah, 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 blah. Hey, it sucks to be you, but it sucks to be all of us. I will also say this, because I got into a little bit of a rabbit hole last night. And okay, I know. I do puzzles. I watch Doctor Who. I think soccer is really cool. I am a little bit of a nerd. But sometimes I find like a news thing that most people would find to be boring, and I have to dive into it. The metals markets, the gold, the silver, a lot of commodities are falling off the charts. I'm like, what the world's going on with this? And I was reading about the fact that right before major economic turbulence, metals do this. the metals, the golds, the silvers, the other metals that are being traded, their values start falling off because they're realizing how fake it all is. Yesterday, this week, it has been really bad. Gold prices, this story was earlier, gold prices rebounded. No, they didn't. They were down $100 today. Gold was down another 100. Silver was down as well. Copper is down. Platinum is down. Palladium is down. The metals markets are getting routed right now, which is, that's not good. Like I said, that's a canary in the coal mine too, that things are starting to go the wrong direction. Let me bring in some more bright, happy, sunshiny news. Sales of newly built homes in January dropped 17.6% month over month, dropped almost 20% month to month. Seasonally adjusted annual pace of 587,000 units, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the lowest pace since 2022. Housing analysts had been expecting a much smaller decline. Sales were also 11.3% lower than they were in January of 2025, according to the U.S. Census, which is still delayed its reporting due to the government shutdown. The count is based on signed contracts, so people who are out shopping when mortgage rates were lower than they are today. The average rate of the 30-year fixed loan hovered between 6 and 6.2 during January. It's currently at 6.36 because they can't keep it down anymore. And this is a sign that there are people out there saying, no, this is too expensive now. You're starting to peel off people buying houses because it's too expensive. The inventory of homes actually rose to a 9.7 month supply, up from 8 months in December. That is 7.8% higher than the end of January 2025, back when Joe Biden had our economy humming. It was so much better. The Strait of Hormuz, farmers, hey, I got bad news for you too. The Strait of Hormuz shutting down caused the war, is jacking up fertilizer prices. Apparently, there's only two major fertilizer manufacturers, and most of the fertilizer comes from the Persian Gulf or from Canada. And yeah, hey, that idiot in the White House, but you MAGA farmers, I'm sure you'll never turn on him. Because Mary Lou, she left, she went to college, and she got married, and she's happy living in the Twin Cities suburbs, and she's got kids, and she looks happy all the time on social media. Trump! And scene. There you go. Yeah, seriously, you have to know what you're dealing with, people. You have to know what you're dealing with. The Strait of Hormuz shutdown caused by the war in Iran is jacking up fertilizer prices, hitting farmers in their pocketbooks. Democrats are trying to win the elections. I remember seeing another opportunity to help with affordability. Well, I just think pointing out reality is all you have to do. About 50% of the global nitrogen-rich area fertilizers, including the Fertilizer Institute, come from the Strait of Hormuz. The Industries Trade Association has said the strait has been effectively impassable since Trump launched the assault. The closure, you're not going to get a ship through with fertilizer when they need the oil out. The closure has spiked fertilizer prices just before planting season, potentially scrambling decision-making for farmers across the U.S., and it comes on top of already low commodity prices that have lingered for years and eaten into farmers' margins. We're in uncharted territory, said Matt Frostick, a Michigan farmer who sits on the board of the National Corn Growers Association. It's like a code red. Well, but it's not. It's code orange, and you voted for this. Also, an ag economist says the ongoing conflict in the Middle East is putting more pressure on the entire supply chain. They're talking about diesel prices that are going to be about 5 cents per bushel more in hauling grain because of the diesel prices are skyrocketing right now. And the diesel prices are well over 5. I think they're almost close to $6 a gallon now. But hey, yeah, and this is just, but folks, this is the tip of the iceberg. This is going to get worse. This is going to get worse. It is. Chicago, Seattle, have a nice weekend. Try to have a nice weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bam, Hour 2 up next.
Greg Bakken here. If you love great food as much as I do, Eat Local Minnesota is your guide to some truly amazing spots for a fantastic meal. Step back in time and experience classic nightlife at Crooner Supper Club. 4-star drinks and entertainment all in one place. Enjoy incredible performances on the main stage in the Dunsmore Jazz Room. You can even unwind in Maggie's Lounge. Find your perfect concert experience at croonersmn.com. Crooner Supper Club, where old school charm meets modern nightlife. Or perhaps something more casual at a Roseville staple. Maverick's Grill Roast Beef in Roseville is the Twin Cities go-to for mouth-watering roast beef sandwiches, but that's just the beginning. Try their Philly steak, turkey bacon avocado, BLT, crispy chicken, fish brisket, or pulled pork. Every bite is packed with flavor. Don't miss this local favorite. See the full menu at mavericksbeef.com. Your taste buds will thank you. These are just a couple of great restaurants Minnesota has to offer. I'll be sharing more with you soon. And remember, when you eat local, Minnesota.
Come on, you know it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. After nearly 3 weeks of war with Iran, the U.S. military is deploying 3 more warships and another roughly 2,500 Marines to the Middle East. But President Trump says,
we're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago. They have no Navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea.
Still, John Gambrell reports from Dubai, the war appears to be intensifying.
We're seeing continued attacks on energy infrastructure across the Gulf Arab states. Today, we saw an oil refinery in Kuwait get hit repeatedly by drones, starting fires there that firefighters took hours to put out. Meanwhile, we're continuing to hear more threats from Iran itself. The top military spokesman there went out and issued a statement warning that Iran's enemies would not be safe on beaches or recreational areas anywhere around the world. This is a threat that analysts have been warning about, that Iran could return to using militant attacks abroad in areas anywhere in the world to try to advance its goals in this war.
Oil prices climbed higher, Brent crude settling above $112 per barrel. AAA puts the average price for a gallon of gas nationwide above $3.91. That's about 98 cents higher than a month ago. Stocks took a big hit today to close out another losing week. The Dow lost 443 points, or about 1%. The S&P fell 1.5%, the Nasdaq 2%. In Hawaii, severe rains have inundated streets with muddy floodwaters, prompting evacuation orders for more than 4,000 people in towns north of Honolulu. Officials are warning about the possible failure of a 120-year-old dam. And Chuck Norris, the martial arts grandmaster and action star, has died at the age of 86. This is AP News.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-1010. That's 1-800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-694-1010. Details on example rate at Select.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only 2 seasons in Minnesota, road construction, and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are two seasons in Minnesota, summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 62, then tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 42. Warmer weather is on the horizon, and what better way to welcome it back than with a fantastic meal and a show at Crooner's Supper Club. Crooner's is located in Fridley on Highway 65, just north of I-694. Check out their concert schedules and dinner menus at croonersmn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show on your Friday. Good to have you with us. Michael Broadcorp joining us here in just a little bit to talk about some of the latest articles he has. I mean, once again, I want to make sure Michael Broadcorp is a Republican. He's Republican. He's basically, but he's an old school Republican. Do you remember when you used to be able to disagree with somebody in politics, but then you could kind of talk out and put your point forward and they could put their point forward and you actually could possibly come to a solution? That's Michael Broadcorp. He is, I don't agree with a lot of things he believes, but at the same time, he and I have nice discussions and he actually lays out his points. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes he's right. I don't mind having that. I wish we could go back to those days as opposed to, War Eagle 69 on Twitter going, you blow. I'm going to go look at that AI girl. That's MAGA again, because that's not discussion. That's basically, I've said, most debate right now with MAGA or Republicans is basically them trying to kick open the door of your house, go to the bathroom in the middle of your floor, point to it with a smile on their face and say, you have to like it. That's not them. So, I mean, I don't mind talking to Michael. And of course, he is our Minnesota Vikings football correspondent. And, for all the people on Blue Ant Media, we're going to actually talk a little bit of Minnesota Vikings football. That's just what we do here. I'm eclectic. That will come up here in a little bit. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I was very you saw the Kennedy Presidential Library announcement about Minnesota and Minneapolis, St. Paul, correct?
Yes.
This is actually a lovely gesture, and I want to thank the JFK Presidential Library people for this honor. They announced on Thursday that the people of the Twin Cities will be honored with a Profile and Courage Award for risking their lives to protect their neighbors and immigrant community members from an unprecedented federal law enforcement operation, peacefully defending the human rights and values that serve as the foundation of our constitutional democracy. Past winners of the award include former Vice President Michael Pence, Ukrainian democracy champion and former President Viktor Yushchenko, former U.S. Representative Gabby Giffords, and the late U.S. Representative John Lewis. The JFK Library granted the award to the people of the Twin Cities because of their actions in the face of Operation Metro Surge, the incursion of 3,000 federal agents here beginning in December. The people of the Twin Cities responded with extraordinary courage and resolve. Tens of thousands took to the streets to peacefully protest federal overreach and threats to immigrant families and constitutional protections, while others documented enforcement activity and alerted neighbors to federal agents. Presence of faith leaders organized demonstrations, community groups build rapid response networks, labor leaders and small businesses defended workers, and volunteers provided critical support and resources across religious, racial, and political lines. A broad coalition of residents in the Twin Cities and surrounding suburbs united in a peaceful resistance despite violent confrontation and real personal risk, defending their neighbors' rights and strengthening the national movement to protect American democracy. So, yeah. I'm very proud of that. And it is well deserved because a lot of people spoke out about this and stood up against this and helped out. 2 people lost their lives. Children were being used as bait. And they're still apparently, there are videos I'm seeing of them still hovering around elementary school parking lots. Ugh. You want to know how bad this is? You remember how mass deportations if you go back and look at 2024, at their convention, they were all holding up mass deportation now signs. Remember that? That issue is so toxic for them. They just had to get together, and the White House went out to them to scream at them, for God's sakes, stop talking about mass deportations. Mass deportations now has become such a toxic issue for them that they don't even want to talk about it. What was, once again, was probably their biggest issue in 2024. And it has fallen off the charts. And one last thing. Aaron Rupar just put a video of that orange monstrosity on, of him saying why we had to attack Iran, where they killed 3 protesters. As a person in Minneapolis, St. Paul, to hear him say the justification for all of this, what we're doing is 3 protesters were killed by the government that didn't like them protesting. Yeah. Speaking of which, protesting is still your right, and I'm going to start this next week. I'm going to start really kind of hitting high that we got a No Kings protest coming up in this country on Saturday, March 28th. We have, and I'm going to talk here about the one that's going on in St. Paul, but there right now are more No Kings rallies scheduled than there were at the last one, which, for the record, was the largest protest in American history. Organizers have announced that Minnesota will host a national flagship rally for the No Kings protest on Saturday, March 28th, featuring a high-profile lineup of activists, musicians, and top state officials. Joan Baez, Jane Fonda, Maggie Rogers are all slated to join Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Attorney General Keith Ellison, at the event that organizers said adheres to a shared commitment to nonviolent protest and community safety. The rally at the Minnesota State Capitol is expected to be the largest in the movement's history. It follows previous mass mobilizations in June and October of 2025 that drew millions of participants nationwide. And I want to remind everybody, the national news media, who, if 7 MAGA people show up and start screaming, will put a front page, top of the fold headline, "Americans Angry," as the coverage. Millions of people marched, and there were a lot of news outlets that didn't even mention it. And in some of the reddest places in the country, there was No Kings protests, and they still just, it's just a few people. That's no big deal. But 6 Republicans want to defend the Confederate flag? Well, we're going to do wall-to-wall coverage for a week. Exactly. On Saturday, March 28th at noon, Minnesotans will kick off the 3rd and largest No Kings event yet, marching in 3 St. Paul locations, then joining together for a nonviolent rally at the Capitol. The day's activity began with the noon marches, departing from 3 separate St. Paul locations before converging in the Capitol at 2 p.m. for the flagship program. The Harriet Island Regional Walk is a 1.5-mile stretch north to the Capitol. The St. Paul College Walk will be a 0.6-mile march, and then the Western Sculpture Park is a 0.5 march to the Capitol grounds. Isn't that kind of on the Capitol grounds? I think it is. Actually. The rally is scheduled to conclude at 3:30 p.m. Organizers noted that the program will be live streamed nationwide with large video walls and speakers installed across the upper and lower Capitol Mall to accommodate the expected crowds. The lineup includes a mix of national celebrities and Minnesota democracy champions. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Attorney General Keith Ellison. Fans. I'm a fan of them. I'm a fan of them, both of them. Joan Baez, actor Jane Fonda, singer-songwriter Maggie Rogers, the AFL-CIO president, Liz Schuler, the SEIU president, April Verrett, American Federation of Teachers president, Randy Weingarten. Ow. Some local officials will be there. The event, emceed by Ash Woodward Henderson, aims to unite participants against what organizers described as authoritarianism and corruption in the Trump administration. So outstanding. And once again, now, last October, the movement saw participation over 7 million people across 2,700 event locations in 50 states. So 7 million people. There are now 3,000 events scheduled. So 300 more events are actually scheduled. We can talk about this with experience. Protest. Let your voices be known. Because as much as Republicans say, that's just a bunch of hooey, those are 4 or 5 liberals that need to get a job. Trust me, I heard from enough people inside the Republican fold that these No Kings rallies are scaring the Republicans. And I think they should be scared. And if we get 10 million, 12 million people showing up and protesting on Saturday, a week from, not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, this happens once again on the 28th, March 28th, a week from tomorrow. If we can get, a lot of people showing up, well, I think that's going to be a good thing. So make sure you go on out there and take part. All right, you go to No Kings, type in No Kings. You can find a rally near you if you're on the Blue Ant Media Network. And I know they're all throughout Minnesota. They're all throughout the county. Go out there and make sure your voice is heard. 952-946-6205. One last thing here before I get to the break. I want to call out the Star Tribune really quick. The Star Tribune is the main paper here in the Twin Cities. Because I saw this headline here today. And if this isn't a pathetic attempt to try to change the narrative of what is going on in the state and try to argue that, well, we better try to help the Republicans get their message across. It might not be Republicans. I'll get to that in a second. But we have to basically help them, because if we basically focus on the militarized takeover attempt of the city and who is responsible for it, then we're not giving Republicans enough help. I don't have any problem. Here's the headline. I want to read this. I saw this morning and I blew my mind. I'm not going to post this story because I'm not going to give them the clicks. With Walz exit, Flanagan. Now, this is the lieutenant governor who is running for Senate. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who we've had on the show. She's running for Senate. With Walz's exit, Flanagan faces fraud scrutiny at U.S. Senate race. What? Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan's role in the Walz administration's fraud crisis has become a prominent line of attack by her opponents in the U.S. Senate race. Okay. I get it. The Republicans are furious because were so ready to go to attack Walz for the entire year. Now they're trying to say that the lieutenant governor was what? The fraud mastermind? Is that what you're trying to say? The people who stole the money are the villains here, right? You guys understand that, right? I can't stand this stuff. You're trying so hard to make fraud a liability for the Democrats instead of focusing on who actually stole the money. And that is a failure and clearly they're doing this. They are specifically doing this to try to help out the Republicans. Or I will say this, or maybe Angie Craig. It crossed my mind when I saw that headline that this might be something where the Angie Craig campaign says, well, if you're not talking about Peggy Flanagan and fraud, then you're giving her it out. Well, she didn't really have anything to do with it, for God's sake. She was the lieutenant governor. And frankly, Walz was taking care of this seriously. I mean, the state of Minnesota took this seriously for years. I bring this up because it's not like the Star Tribune doesn't have things they could investigate. We already know the Republican Party of Minnesota coordinated with the Utah Mama's Boy to do the racist video that brought Trump and ICE into town. And they encouraged Trump to bring ICE into town and into the state to crack skulls and get those liberals in line. They did that. We have their admission they worked with the Utah Mama's Boy. We know that one of their staffers in the Minnesota House gave him the list of Somali daycares. By the way, side note, none of them were in violation because the point wasn't finding fraud. It was about getting Somali people on so that they could make the racist video. They've admitted this, Star Tribune, and you guys have completely and totally ignored the fact that the Republican Party of Minnesota is primarily responsible for the attack on this city and in this state. I'm sure in 10 years, well, you know what? It's a shame none of them are still in office because those guys weren't good. I'm tired of this crap. Here you are frantically trying to manufacture a story against Peggy Flanagan while you openly ignore the story that's in front of your face. Or how about the award from the Kennedy Presidential Library? You didn't even have that on your webpage until later on today. That's a pretty big freaking deal for all the Twin Cities. Nope, you guys got to filter everything through your mega rural Minnesota filter. Tired of this crap. You guys used to be a legitimate newspaper. What is wrong with you guys? This manufacturing of outrage because, well, we can't go after walls, but we got all these stores ready to go. So we're just going to add an LT in front of the GOV and now we got something cooking. Sad. When are you doing the investigation into the Republicans who welcomed in this entire fiasco? When? Jeff is in the Twin Cities metro area, has been on hold here for a while. Why not? Jeff, come on in.
Hello, Matt.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm up here in Cambridge.
Hey.
And just a couple of things. The No Kings protests, we're going to have one up here in Cambridge.
Nice.
Last time in October, we had over 300 people, which was about 3% of our population up here in red territory.
Oh, very red territory.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the Kennedy honor, I think, is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But being here from rural Minnesota, we're putting up with it too.
Well, okay, Jeff, I will say this. Cambridge is kind of, I know you'll fight this. You are on the outskirts. You're in Exurb, but you are part of the Twin Cities metro area. So, feel as if Cambridge is involved in this. I mean, it was a lot of people stepping up. And so, yes, this is partly Cambridge's award too. I got this yesterday when I said, I love this city. And some people are like, wait a second, this wasn't Minneapolis. I said, no, the Twin Cities, the large city, this massive metro area, not just one. It was all of us. And there was a lot of people statewide that did this too. But, I think, we all should be grateful that people saw that what we did and that you can do this peacefully and stand up for what's right. It doesn't mean we didn't have major losses and sadness and tragedy. But at the same time, we did not fulfill the MAGA wish list of becoming violent. And that's how you do it.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Jeff. Take care. 952-946-6205. All right, we'll let Cambridge on in. They are part of the metro, in my mind. I mean, they're. We'll take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
What if I told you that toxic pesticides from crop seeds and lawns have spread all over Minnesota's lands and water, devastating wildlife and posing risks to our health? Well, it's true. But a coalition of Minnesota farmers, community members, anglers, and more are taking action to protect our state from neurotoxic pesticides. To learn more and get involved, visit cleanerseed.org. That's cleanerseed.org. And tune to Food Freedom Radio.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. I've been telling you about Snap Construction, the company AM 950 trusts for all roofing and siding needs. Now that spring is here and summer is around the corner, now is a great time to find out why AM 950 trusts Snap Construction. Ryan, the owner, and his team at Snap Construction have been great to work with, and they have enjoyed working with our listeners.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners at AM 950. What a great group of people and a great radio station. I personally want to thank all the listeners that we've had the opportunity to work with. At Snap Construction, we look forward to working with many more of you when it comes to your roofing, siding, windows, and insulation. Don't just take Chad's word for it. Google Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the Twin Cities metro. We led this community with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate. Call today, 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or visit us online, snapconstruction.com.
History Theater brings you Hungry Like the Wolf, a fresh comedy that weaves together history, humor, and meaningful social themes, all set against a memorable 80s backdrop with a love for Duran Duran. This lively production dives into labor rights and gender equity, featuring a cast of eccentric and bold characters. Get ready for an experience like no other at History Theater. Catch the exciting performances from March 19th to April 12th at the History Theater in downtown St. Paul. Grab your tickets today at historytheater.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205. I should mention we'll also get some dancing on in here. All right, so I want to bring up something here that's it's going to be an issue that definitely is getting very little traction, but we got to start talking about this because we have talked a lot about the ag sector, and we've talked a lot about the fact that their markets for crops are pretty much drying up because of Trump's ham-handed trade policy. They're going to Brazil and Argentina and Australia and New Zealand, and they're not getting our product. And this idea of, well, they want American soybeans. Oh, no, they don't. They want cheap soybeans, and they're getting it from these other countries who are having bumper crops. So there's that problem. We also talked about the problem last hour about the cost, diesel fuel, fertilizer. Their input costs are through the roof, and they don't set prices. The market does. And so if all of a sudden things cost them 5 cents, 6 cents more per bushel, that's going to break a lot of them. But there is the other dirty little secret we do not talk about when it comes to rural America in regards to the ag corporations killing them. And they are. They're killing them with the chemicals that are needed to get the margins and the crop ratios out of the per acre that they need. And it's a failure of us as a society, whether it's our political leaders, especially in rural America, where you would think that the politicians there care about the wealth and health, well-being, the health and well-being of the people they represent, but they don't. Because they get a big check from the big ag guys to say, ignore the problem and we move on. Now, I've talked a lot about the wells, and the water wells in large parts of rural America are undrinkable, that there are communities where you cannot drink the water out of the tap. You can't use it to cook with. You can't take a shower. You can't wash your hair unless you go out and get some $2,000-$3,000 filtration system, which has to be replaced once a month. That's the only way to get all the toxic chemicals out of the water. I mean, it's so bad. If you go watch, it's Logan Lucky. If you go watch the movie Logan Lucky, they actually talk about this, that if you wanted to make yourself sick, just drink the tap water. It will make you sick. I mean, that's a common occurrence across large swaths of America, especially rural America. And no, it's not cheap to fix that problem. Water treatment facilities to get those chemicals out of the water are $30-40 million operations in some cases. And even with state subsidies, that's just an insane amount of money. But I saw this story here, and we need to talk about the use of these chemicals and how it affects the farmers on a day-to-day basis. 71% of counties that spray the most glyphosate have late-stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma incident rates above the national average, according to new data analyst by the advocacy group Food and Water Watch. Last month, Investigate Midwest, a partnership with the Pulitzer Center's Story Reach U.S. Fellowship, published an investigation that found 60% of the top 500 counties for pesticides use had overall cancer rates above the national average. And these are rural areas. I mean, it's pretty clear what's going on here. Food and Water Watch's data analysis, which also found the most high pesticide use counties had cancer rates above the national average, includes late-stage diagnoses, the stage of many plaintiffs who have sued large agricultural companies over cancer diagnoses. The analysis looked up the top 20 of counties for glyphosate use and found that most were in the upper Midwest. Nearly 3 out of 4 of those counties had late-stage cancer rates higher than the national average. Nearly 100,000 lawsuits have been settled by pesticide makers, most by Bayer, the maker of Roundup, a glyphosate-based herbicide. And, people use Roundup usually in their houses and stuff like this. That's bad enough. I mean, it is bad enough. But we're talking about large-scale usage in ag facilities. Oh, my God. A lot of the strongest cases that are made to make it into litigation are that more aggressive late-stage cases, said Amanda Starbuck, a researcher with Food and Water Watch, and she told Investigate Midwest. This is a big problem. It's a big problem on a lot of different levels. First of all, and foremost, we're killing our farmers. The chemicals we need for them to use, that corporate America and the markets demand they use to get the best ratios for their budget, are killing them. And their deaths, especially considering there's not a lot of people rushing in to fill the voids where these farmers are at, is causing us stress within the system. Let alone the fact that rural America's healthcare has been wiped out in the last 20 years by basically the mentality being it's just not profitable enough to have a medical clinic near these communities and where they're having these problems. So not only are you limiting the amount of healthcare they have, you're making people with numerous cancer cases have to drive even further to get the medical care they have just to hold on for a few more years. There are large swaths of this country, including in Minnesota here, where the cancer rates in communities are through the freaking roof. There was one story, and I've talked about the story a lot because it scared the living daylights out of me, just south of the Twin Cities down towards Rochester, Minnesota, where this community, and the guy was sitting there going, they got cancer, they got cancer, they got cancer, they got cancer, running down the entire neighborhood, pointing at every farm saying, yep, they got cancer. And nobody really freaking cares. I don't know what it will take for us to basically realize that the modern technique of farming, how we're doing it, is killing our farmers. But we shouldn't be so damn flippant about this, because if anything was doing this to, say, any other career field, we'd be on alert saying, what's going on here? But yet it goes to the farmers, and frankly, I think a lot of it has to do with the political leadership they do not have for them in these cases. Well, what's going to really happen to rural Minnesota and rural America is going to be catastrophic. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break, come on back. Michael Broadcorp talking politics and a little Minnesota Vikings football as well when we do come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Girls gonna take control. You boys better know.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The end of winter is finally on the horizon, and you're going to start thinking about all that nasty crud that's built up in your home over these last few months. Call Mike Cleaning Heroes at Zero Res to help get you an early start on the spring cleanup. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel. This month, get Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner. Buy one room, get another free. Buy another room of carpet cleaning, get another room of carpet done for free. Get the picture? Also this month, get a free size upgrade on every whole home air duct cleaning package. Don't you love when you buy your favorite beverage and get a free size upgrade? That's what Zero Res is doing this month with their whole home air duct cleaning package. Start spring cleaning with a free upgrade and pay less for more fresh. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the name Zero Res.
Get ready for Easter fun with the annual Easter brunch at the Park Tavern. Enjoy Easter ham, all your Easter breakfast and brunch favorites, and all the sides and desserts. Seatings are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th, and you need reservations. $29.95 for adults, $19.95 for those over 65 and under 12 years old, and 5 and under are free. And don't forget the hour of free bowling with every reservation. Call 952-929-6810 on Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park. Enjoy a delicious, stress-free Easter with the Park Tavern.
When it comes to nutritional supplements, it can be hard to know what to trust. Announcing whattotrust.com. Whattotrust.com is a free app developed by Canamix, a Rochester, Minnesota company founded by scientists and clinicians from Harvard Medical School to help people make informed choices. It's time to stop guessing what scientifically proven means and start knowing what to trust. Go to whattotrust.com, enter product's name, and get science-based What to Trust scores. Companies do not pay to be listed on What to Trust. Whattotrust.com.
The Electric Fetus is having a pre-inventory store-wide sale now through March 22nd. Take 20% off almost everything in the store, including new and used vinyl, CDs, and DVDs, Electric Fetus t-shirts, hats, and pint glasses, and tons of other great gift items. The store is open 10 to 6 Tuesday through Saturday and 11 to 6 on Sunday. It's closed Monday. Electric Fetus is located just south of downtown Minneapolis at 2000 South 4th Avenue. More info at electricfetus.com. Sale ends Sunday.
This is Alex Knorr from Buzz Cut Mowing, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. I take the hard work off your plate with weekly mowing. I also offer leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I'll keep your lawn beautiful so you can enjoy your weekends with the people who matter most. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 42, then Saturday, sunshine with a high of 76. Warmer weather is on the horizon, and what better way to welcome it back than with a fantastic meal and a show at Crooner's Supper Club. Crooner's is located in Fridley on Highway 65, just north of I-694. Check out their concert schedules and dinner menus at croonersmn.com. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It is the Matt McNeil Show on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack, and of course on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Michael Broadcorp is kind enough to join us. We talk politics with him. We also talk about Minnesota Vikings when we get into the football season, and we will touch on something with the Vikings here before we finish out. But I wanted to get into politics with Michael because we haven't had him on to talk about that in a while. Michael, good to see you, my friend.
It's great to be here, Matt.
Let's make sure we know everyone. I know you're up on Substack. Let everyone know where they can find you and your podcast as well.
MichaelBroadcorp.com, the breakdown with Broadcorp and Becky across all social, all podcast platforms, and at M Broadcorp on any social media platform you can think of. Thank you,
and if you're and no problem, if you're on Substack, not only you can follow me at Matt McNeil Show, but Michael Broadcorp is there. You can follow him, and he posts his stuff there as well. So there you go. You got your cover there, and go follow him. It's like I said, it's you and I. You're Republican, I'm Democrat, but we talk like 80s Democrats and Republicans. We actually realize that we're both trying to get to the same goal. We might not agree how we get there, but we're willing to work with the other side, and that's something I actually cherish. If you want to know the truth.
You're Tip O'Neill, and I'm Reagan, and we would have been hanging out on St. Patrick's Day. That's for sure.
Do you know I'm at my mom's house out in South Carolina. I'm looking up at the wall of this photo. I said, Mom, is that you with Tip O'Neill? Oh. And it was. They were in New Orleans. Now, I want to just stop right there. Think about Tip O'Neill in New Orleans. Oh, my God. They went into this restaurant, and Tip O'Neill was there, and my dad talked him into allowing him to take a picture with my mom. And so it's Tip O'Neill and my mom in New Orleans.
That's the way it's supposed to. That's fantastic. I mean, that's the place you want to meet Tip O'Neill. And just to mention it for a second, I mean, Reagan when he was president, Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House in congressional leadership. They got along great. They had beers together.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we need to get back to. People just talking and agreeing on that 80% stuff.
Let's talk about some of the stories you've been covering. And I want to get into, so you've been talking about Michelle Tafoya, who's a candidate for Senate in Minnesota for the Republicans. And I should mention, we do have the open seat. Tina Smith has decided not to run again. We have on the Democratic side, Andrew Craig, Peggy Flanagan are the two primary ones. On the Republican side, it's a more crowded field, but I'd say, Royce White, Michelle Tafoya, David Hahn is in there. Adam Schwarzy, I know he's getting some name recognition. Those seem to be the ones there. But Michelle Tafoya, if for everyone out there who might not say, okay, well, that sounds familiar, she's the former sideline reporter for Monday Night Football. She is from Minnesota. She's done media here in town for a while. And she has kind of been speculated that at some point she might run for a statewide office here. And it sounds like she has chosen to do this. Your thoughts I guess we can start with just the campaign overall, the Senate race as it's going, but as well, then we can kind of get into some of your writings about Michelle Tafoya.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, let me just say that it's an open seat. On paper, open seats are better opportunities for there to be pickups. But it's Minnesota. It's Minnesota Republicans. Minnesota's Republicans haven't won statewide in nearly 20 years. And, Tafoya, on paper, Tafoya should be a candidate that, I kind of align with on some issues. She, didn't support Trump. She, wrote a very, passionate letter after the 22 elections encouraging Trump not to run for president. And, she and I, on some issues align, particularly on matters of abortion. I think the party does need to evolve on that. But, she's been endorsed by the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And, but I would say to you that, and I say this respectfully, I just don't think she's ready to run statewide. And I think she has tremendous potential. But she's the type of candidate where I think they did some polling, saw she had good name ID and said, let's have her run for the United States Senate. And, I think she would have benefited from maybe running for running for a congressional seat, maybe running for the legislature, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Get some more policy chops and get, a little better at understanding the nuances and differences in policy. There's only so far you can go with name ID, and running for the United States Senate, running statewide is not a small task, but particularly running for the United States Senate, you're one of 100. It's considered the greatest deliberative body in the world. And so I think what we've seen on the campaign trail so far from Tafoya is that she's just not ready for this.
You bring this up, and obviously there is the story that's broke. I mean, you're right. There's a lack of understanding presentation to a point. She was on the Todd Starnes talk show in Tennessee, and she discussed fraud, immigration. I know it's frustrating. I know it's hard for people. What I would say is to them is that we lost some service members over there who put their lives on the line to protect us, to protect the region. Okay, nothing wrong with any of that statement yet. Keeping a stiff upper lip, maybe take one less trip to Starbucks so that gas goes a little further until this thing is over and these gas prices come back down again. You and I both know, you and I have been following politics for a long time. If you start getting to the point, and this is something you've heard other Republicans start to float the idea of, if you're at the point where you need to start giving up things, that it doesn't float well with the populace, because, it's the chicken in every pot. So that's what they want to hear. They want to hear how things are going to be better for them, not how, hey, it's time for us to start cutting back. And, you shouldn't, the implication is, and I'm not saying she said it like this, but the implication is, oh, you shouldn't be so selfish to go get another Starbucks. Don't drive the car. Yeah. That's not going to play that well, I think, when you're looking, especially that will come back if she does become the Republican nominee.
Sure. I have said to people, I think her performance over the last couple of weeks has shown that she's not the candidate that I think people thought, and I don't think she's ready for prime time. And I will say about that comment, Matt, and first of all, let me say, I've never worn our nation's uniform. I have the utmost respect for those who do. I will tell you that I understand the point that she's making, but I think it's a really bad point. I don't think that I show that I'm patriotic and respectful of what our men and women in uniform are doing right now by not going to Starbucks. And I'm someone who, wants the commander in chief, regardless of whether I voted for them, to succeed. I want our country to succeed. And I want our troops that are, in the United States training or serving overseas to always be protected.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit of a tin ear to say, well, just don't go to Starbucks. I think it's important for people to remember Michelle Tafoya is highly successful. She's a multimillionaire, lives in a mansion in Edina. And I can just tell you something. I don't think that a candidate running for the United States Senate, lives in Edina, lives in a mansion, should be out there saying, folks, just go to Starbucks less. And that's going to be approach. I also don't think, respectfully, again, very respectfully, that it really, I think, handles the seriousness of what our men and women in our armed forces are really engaged in when we say, just don't go to Starbucks. Let's be more patriotic.
Okay. Well, and you and I think we can both. Okay. You get to the point saying we all should salute the troops. Okay. Done. Stop. Period. You're done talking.
Correct.
Because you say that and then no one can disagree with you. It's that added on thing. It's like, hey, maybe you should, instead of having a steak, you should have a veggie burger this night. It's stuff like that. When you try to add on to try to make it sound more folksy or relatable, that's where it kind of goes sideways. And yeah, it's a talent to do that. I mean, it's not something that you can learn. You have to learn how to do that and learn how to pull back. And she just, and whether it's because of her media experience or not, she just doesn't know when to stop, period, done saying things.
You're correct. I have said to someone over the last couple of weeks that Michelle Tafoya is the type of candidate that the more they talk, it doesn't get better. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. This is where I think having a more policy grounded candidate, spending some time in the legislature, again, running maybe for Congress. I'm not trying to say that's much less, but I think she is someone who needs some policy training.
No, absolutely. And by the way, and I love that message. I was on my planning and zoning committee. One of the guys I served with went on, he's on city council. City council member Cheryl Joachim is now serving in the Minnesota House. And she's a great House rep. She's the DFL's education chair. You get yourself exposed at these levels. And not only will you learn a lot about how the state works, and wherever you're listening in Blue Amp 2, go and get involved in your local community. It is actually very rewarding. But you'll learn how to do this, but it also gives you those props to where you can learn how to navigate political campaigns a lot better.
Correct. I was just in Arizona, went to see the Barry Goldwater Memorial, and Barry Goldwater served on the city council in Phoenix before he was elected to the United States Senate. And I just think, again, I think Tafoya has tremendous potential. I don't think she's succeeding in this environment. And so I think that creates an opportunity for some of the other Republican candidates to move up. I still think that I think Republicans would like to see it be Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. I think that they view Craig as a tougher candidate. But I would say to you, I think the advantage right now in rankings and ratings is that this is a lean Democratic seat, and a lot of things would have to break for someone like Tafoya to make it through. I think, the endorsement's coming up. She's not abiding by the endorsement. And what I've seen on social media is that Adam Schwarzy is running up some of these totals and some of these straw ballots and winning a number of precincts. And so we'll see. But ultimately, Tafoya is, again, one of those candidates who I think the more they talk, I don't think they're going to deliver it for the voters.
Do you think the Republican Party has learned their lesson on Royce White? And
I don't think he gets endorsed.
He's not going to get endorsed, but do you think that, he is out there, and he does have a stunningly, strong base still out there. Now, it was interesting when we saw, who was the guy that was running for governor that pulled out of the race? The other guy that ran last time, or changed his race. He changed to the auditor race.
Scott Jensen.
Scott Jensen, yeah. Scott Jensen, when he started running, I said, okay, this might be trouble for the Democrats because he does have a base, but he quickly realized it wasn't there. Royce seems to still have a good chunk of his support, and I think a lot of that just compares to his national people. And for everyone out there that doesn't know, Royce White was a bit of a disaster for the Republican Party against Amy Klobuchar. He is a guy that just can't control his thought processes. I mean, I was called a cuck a lot.
I was called a lot of things I can't say.
I was called a soy boy. I was like, okay, man, you need to do better at this stuff. You're just there. But you bring up Schwarzy, is there really enough people within the Republican Party that's like, okay, we're not going down the Royce White line again?
Yeah, here's what I'd say. I think Royce White has wore out his welcome with a number of people. I think he's wore out his welcome with a number of people. That being said, I said to someone just this week, I said, Royce White may have wore out his welcome, but he can stick to talking points better than Tafoya can. And those aren't great talking points. But I think he's wore out as well. I think that Republicans see an opportunity with the open seat. They see the open race for the governor's race. And so I think that, first of all, let me just say, never underestimate the ability of Republicans to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So all things being, but I do think Royce White's his bit has worn thin. And so I think that the convention is looking at other candidates. And I think, abiding by the convention is important to Republicans. And I think that's where I think some of these other candidates have an advantage.
When it comes to statewide messaging, obviously, when we got started this year, it was going to be about fraud. And then, of course, ICE came into town and kind of derailed the Republican plan to use that as a unifying force. And also Walz resigning or deciding not to run again for another term. Now you've got the Iran war. And and all the ripple effects of that, gas prices, fertilizer prices, diesel prices, people saying, basically maybe you shouldn't go get a Starbucks and stuff like that. The Republicans, their best chance at messaging, if they were going to be successful, is on fraud. They're trying desperately to steer this back. But what is your thought? Do you feel that issue, the boat has sailed because of the ICE Operation Metro Surge and what happened there with Renee Good and Alex Preddy? And then now here we have this other massive story of the Iranian war, and it's not going to go away anytime quickly. And with it comes a lot of economic pressures. Is it even possible for the Republicans outside of their most fervent base to really get back to the fraud issue?
Correct. And not advising any candidates or campaigns, but let me just say this to you. My take is that fraud was the top issue.
Yeah.
Governor Walz not running for re-election changed the dynamic, and then ICE did. And so the problem that I think that Republicans have is that I think, and I'm not advocating for them to change them, I'm just giving you the balls and strikes that I see them. They are still hyper-focused on Walz. And that benefits Senator Klobuchar, who is in this race. And at some point, they have to, I think, realize, and I'm not just giving you an honest answer, they're not running against Walz. And the campaign is against Senator Klobuchar. And I think that they're still stuck in that rut of focusing on Walz and fraud, Walz and fraud, Walz and fraud. And I don't think anyone has made a credible connection to how Senator Klobuchar is responsible for the fraud. But that's something that the campaigns are going to have to figure out. That I think it's a double whammy. I think it's fraud being gone, the arrival of ICE, and then Republicans not having the opportunity to beat up on who they wanted to beat up on. I think has totally changed the dynamics of the race.
Yeah, you really.
And I think then you add in Iran and what's going on. I mean, let's be clear. One of the points Tafoya was trying to make in her commentary when it spun out of control was she was trying to compare what was happening to what was done during World War II. And that's not that the commander in chief, the president, has not made the case that we are in a war situation, even though I think it's fair colloquially to call it a war. I have, but to talk about rationing and other types of things that Tafoya was talking about, that's very serious. And I'm old fashioned. I remember the 92 race. It's the economy, stupid. And when people are paying more at the gas pump prices and candidates on the Republican side are saying, hey, maybe don't go to get your coffee, that's going to be a very tough election for Republicans.
You and I could talk. Actually, I need to have you back because you and I have a lot of other issues. We're going to talk about politics. We got to get into the Vikings here really quick. So we're going to abruptly change Minnesota Vikings because he's got his Vikings hat on now. The Minnesota Vikings, they signed Kyler Murray, the quarterback from Arizona, which a lot of people thought was a pretty good idea. They've also just re-signed Carson Wentz, who was injured, who was basically hobbling around trying to fill in for J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy had 2 years. 1 year was completely injured. Last year was less than star-studded. Should we read this as what I think it is, which is J.J. McCarthy is on the way out now in Minnesota?
I view two things. J.J. McCarthy's time is over, meaning he has to perform. He has to step up. Number two, I think that KOC is on the hot seat. We've changed general managers since when we discussed it a little bit on the last time I was on, but they're making changes, and there is no reason to think that Kevin O'Connell's job is safe based on the fact that they dumped the general manager. And I think that KOC needs to step up, and I guarantee you JJ McCarthy needs to step up. And so the Vikings are, I think, going back to Matt, to how we discussed, particularly you, meaning you specifically, you constantly discussed during our Vikings coverage last season that JJ McCarthy, you thought, was given the job too much, not much of a competition. I think the Vikings leadership listened to you, and they're going to make him work for the job this time.
Kyler Murray, I think, is a good ad. I noticed how quickly they kind of said, okay, not Kirk Cousins, definitely not Aaron Rodgers. they go with Murray.
They would have picked up Kirk Cousins. I would have drawn a bath, thrown a toaster in there, and jumped in the bath.
Who is the number 3 on the depth chart right now, Brosmer or McCarthy?
It's around 6 people have asked me that in the last 24 hours, and I don't know. I would venture to say, I would say Murray, JJ, Wentz.
You think it's in? I think it's Murray, Wentz, and then I think it's. I think they're going to look at him and say, "You need to play." I'll make this one last statement here because we got to get going. But I'll make this one last statement. I think this when you say this, no NFL team is going to give any quarterback 3 years to work through injuries. Nope, that's just not. And when you say it like that, yeah, that's a big red flag for JJ McCarthy. Is that you've just been too injured, and the times you've not been injured, as opposed to like Kyler Murray, when he wasn't injured last year, was really good. But when McCarthy has been coming back and he's actually played, he's not. I think that this is them trying to find a way to get him off the team at this point.
That's the key word there is injured. It would be one thing. I mean, there's been a whole litany of teams that have worked with players as they develop who stayed healthy. The key word in that sentence is injured. They're not going to give him time on the field to be injured.
Yep.
They will work with him, but not if he's injured.
Michael Broadcorp, Vikings politics. Let's have you back before too long, my friend. Okay.
Sounds great. Have a great weekend.
You too. We'll take a break. Come on back. I get some dancing in on a Friday. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Step into Forts, a fort-building wonderland at Children's Theater Company through April 5th. Theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for creative play. Build the tallest fort, the longest fort, or tons of cozy little forts. Design a castle or a neighborhood. Your imagination leads the way as you play freely and create shared stories together in real life. Forts at CTC through April 5th. Spring break weekdays available. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
For delicious gourmet popcorn, Popcorn, Popped corn.com has you covered. Popped corn offers your favorite flavors ready to go. Cheese made with real cheese, their classic mix. More than 80 great flavors. Enjoy featured flavors like Shamrock Caramel and their tasty fudge and nuts. They sell their popcorn in various bag, gift box, and tin sizes, and they ship across the USA. Visit poppedcorn.com and enter in discount code MATT to get 10% off your order. That's discount code MATT at popcorn, Popped corn.com, and make everyone smile.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Peace up, A-Town down.
Man, I could have done this song today. I could have. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Once again, thanks to Michael Broadcorp, and go follow him on Substack. Follow me on Substack too, Matt McNeil Show, and then on Blue Sky, Matt McNeil Show there. Follow me, like me. I like it when you like me. All right. That's going to do it for this week. We've got, of course, Native Roots Radio coming up after my show, Ghost Box Radio coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Is there any of the popcorn still left, or did you guys eat it all?
Oh, we still got quite a bit.
Okay, well, and not after I'm done with this show. Marina, it is Purge the Poison. I'm dancing out to this one this week. Have a fantastic weekend. Be back here on a Monday. Until then, see ya.
Mystical bitches making our own sisterhood. While society is falling, we are quietly reforming, protecting the planet, healing our own damage. Quarantined all alone, Mother Nature's on the phone. What have you been doing? Don't forget I am your home. Virus gone, fire's burn, until human beings learn from every disaster. You are not my master. Need to push the poison, show us our humanity. All the bad and good, racism and misogyny. Nothing's hidden anymore. Capitalism made us poor. God forgive America for every single war. Need to push the poison from the system into human beings. Listen, tell me who you think you are. Oh, it's your own decision, but your home is now your prison. You forgot that without me you won't go far. Oh, need to touch the listen from my system until human beings listen. Tell me, who'd you think you are? 2007, when size zero was the rage. Britney shaved her head and all we did was call her craze. Harvey Weinstein gone to jail. Me Too went on to unveil truth in all its glory. The ending of a story. It's a new world order. Everything just falls away. Our life as we knew.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. I've been telling you about Snap Construction, the company AM 950